Now on KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14, the last U.S. troops have left Afghanistan, ending what historians say is the longest war in U.S. history. Plus, how some area electric crews are providing help to communities in Louisiana as they recover from the aftermath of Ida.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jordan Abbey. The final U.S. troops have left Afghanistan, ending America's longest war. Fox News correspondent Griff Jenkins is at the State Department with the latest.
I'm here to announce the completion of our withdrawal from Afghanistan and the end of the military mission to evacuate American citizens, third country nationals, and vulnerable Afghans.
The Pentagon announcing the last of the U.S. troops have left Afghanistan, effectively ending America's longest war, hours before the president's August 31st deadline.
While the military evacuation is complete, the diplomatic mission to ensure additional U.S. citizens and eligible Afghans who want to leave continues.
Their departure coming despite more violence in Kabul on the final day spent drawing down forces. U.S. officials reporting 5 rocket attacks overnight, 3 landing off the Kabul airfield.
CRAM was able to effect and thwart the attack of one, and the other rocket landed with no effect to the mission or any danger to our personnel.
Pentagon spokesman John Kirby, asked about a separate strike Sunday, said this about reports a U.S. drone targeting an ISIS-K threat killed 10 Afghans, including 7 children.
We are not in a position to dispute it right now.
The escalation in violence, the backdrop Monday, as Biden officials work to defend the president's decision to leave Afghanistan, ending nearly 20 years at war.
If he had not, his view and the view of many experts and military out there is we would have sent tens of thousands potentially, or thousands at least, more troops back into harm's way.
This is putting Americans in harm's way for decades.
The Taliban says it's now in control of Kabul's international airport. At the State Department, Griff Jenkins, Fox News.
One of the 13 U.S. service members killed in Thursday's bombing in Afghanistan was a Marine from Wentzville, Missouri, outside of St. Louis. People showed their gratitude and support for Jared Schmitz and his family. Ryan Henson reports on what his sacrifice means to a community.
Honks for the hero. Flags for the fallen Marine. People lined Wentzville Parkway this morning to show their gratitude for Jared Schmitz, one of 13 service members killed this week in a blast near the Kabul airport in Afghanistan.
We're so proud of our kids, but we also worry about them. And when something like this happens, we know it could happen to any of us.
Julie Rogers is married to a vet and is a child serving overseas. She's proud to be shoulder to shoulder with other Americans who share her respects for Schmitz and other service members' sacrifice.
We're so proud of them, and that usually outweighs any of our fears, and that's what we try to focus on. We try to focus on and also appreciate our veterans who've been there themselves, who also struggle during these times.
Brad Bisher saw the rally this morning and knew he had to be there.
And I think that it's an obligation that every American has, because these guys give everything they have in support of our country, and I think that it's just fitting that people show respect.
As the community wraps their arms around this hero and his family, Rogers, the president of Blue Star Mothers Lincoln County, says the best way to honor him is to never forget.
Talk their names, ask about them, always remember.
Ryan Henson, 5 on your side.
Schmitz's body returned to the United States yesterday. Funeral arrangements are still pending. Nick Kelly joining us now. Firstly, the forecast. I just love it outside. It's so nice, so beautiful, so not hot.
Yeah, all of the above, Jordan. Especially helpful if you got underneath any good pockets of rain today. Before Joplin could see any of that rain cool things down, we did have to bump the high to 92 today after we started at 71. I was starting the evening out with tracking thunderstorms on the radar network, but as advertised, they fizzled away with the setting sun. But as long as our stationary front is still parked to the north, I may have to keep an eye on the chance for a few thunderstorms for tomorrow. But as far as where we stand right now, though, Jordan, everyone's in the mid to upper 70s. We'll drop back into the upper 60s to near 70 tonight. And we'll see how the rest of the forecast pans out here in a bit.
Nick Kelly, thank you. Crews throughout the Gulf Coast are working to restore power to millions of residents as Ida leaves the region. Fox News correspondent Caroline Shively has the latest from New Orleans.
New Orleans mayor says the only way the city will make it through post-Ida is working together to repair damage like this. Search and recovery efforts ramped up across parts of Louisiana and Mississippi as weather conditions improved on Monday. Using boats and helicopters, rescue crews are now optimistic they'll be able to reach residents who are stuck inside their homes. New Orleans and the surrounding suburbs bore the brunt of Storm Ida. Heavy winds, some topping 100 miles per hour, caused significant damage to homes and businesses across the Big Easy. Boat and air rescues are expected to increase as floodwaters recede in parts of Louisiana.
Hopefully this operation won't be a long term. This isn't a Hurricane Katrina where we're trying to evacuate the city of New Orleans. We're talking about, a maximum maybe 400 residents that stayed down.
Removing downed trees and power lines from roadways will remain one of the top priorities. The federal government is also doing what they can to help residents along the Gulf Coast. President Biden and FEMA promising heavily impacted areas will receive aid and supplies in the coming days.
Local utilities are going to soon begin restoration work, including prioritizing getting transmission lines into New Orleans and get them back up and running. A lot of them have been taken down. More than 25,000 debris crews and linemen from at least 30 states are rolling in to support you.
Entergy says some customers could be without power for more than 3 weeks. In New Orleans, I'm Caroline Shively, Fox News.
According to Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards, there's around 25,000 linemen from 22 different states working to restore power in the area impacted by Ida. That includes crews from right here in the 4 states. KOM's Zach Dodge has the details.
Electric crews and linemen head to Louisiana and Mississippi to help with recovery from Hurricane Ida.
All we had to do was tell them that we had received a request, and we immediately had volunteers.
More than 1 million people across Louisiana are without power following the destructive storm, so a 4-man crew from Carthage Water and Electric left Saturday to make the trek down and are now going to Natchez, Mississippi.
They have about 50% just under their customers are without power right now, and so there's quite a bit of work to be done.
Linemen, vegetation management personnel, and police from Grand River Dam Authority, as well as crews from several fire departments across Oklahoma, also rolled out on Saturday.
So far, things seem to be going well. Our guys are well trained. They've been in this sort of incident before, so when they move in, they know what to expect.
Both Carthage Water and Electric and GRDA are lending a hand as part of a nationwide American Public Power mutual aid effort. And as soon as that request came in, they were ready for action.
It's them saying, we are ready to help, send us down there, let us go.
They talk about an Oklahoma standard, and I think these guys uphold that pretty well when they go into a situation like this to help however they need to. So our objective is just to help our neighbors and to do it as quickly and safely as possible.
Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt says more than 150 responders are currently deployed to Louisiana. The American Red Cross says if you want to help, monetary donations go a long way. We have links to where you can donate in this story on our website, again, komnewsnow.com. As Tropical Storm Ida is still wreaking havoc, more than 1 million people experiencing power outages in Louisiana, as we just heard about. Economists are projecting the overall damage to the economy is going to be modest. Analysts predict there's going to be a rise in car prices and building materials as residents repair and rebuild. KOAM News at 9. Fox 14 takes its time now to honor another 4-state hero. Christopher Gailey served in the U.S. Army from 2007 to 2011, stationed in Iraq and Afghanistan. He was killed in action. We are proud to thank, honor, and remember Christopher Gailey. He's tonight's 4-state hero. Nick Kelly's next with a complete look at the forecast a bit later. Webb City softball winning its season opener in walk-off fashion. Gonna have highlights and post-game reaction. Sports.
You can certainly classify this Monday afternoon as a pretty warm, if not a bit hot, if you had to step outside at all today, despite the fact that we had quite a bit of cloud cover build once again, resulting for some at least, some scattered showers and storms once again as we got deeper into the afternoon. It looks as though indigo sky got away unscathed. We kept things pretty dry from sunrise to sunset outside of Seneca, Missouri. And Joplin Regional did manage to heat things up before we had some scattered showers pick up around the airport proper. But you can see how we went near 90 yesterday, lower 70s this morning, and back to about 91, 92. before some surrounding rain forced temperatures to drop off a bit throughout the course of the late afternoon. Again, we had nothing to start this morning out. Then we had our afternoon scattering of thunderstorms. Again, on the average, 1/10 of an inch, but that's taking into account areas that didn't see rain and some areas that saw some pretty good downpours come on down. Take areas outside the Chinootan area, for example, a couple pockets of over an inch, about 0.7 inches around Quapaw and Miami, and then a couple spots in southwestern Missouri outside of Lamar, Nevada, and Stockton Lake, pushing between 1 to 2 inches of rain. Thankfully, not heavy enough to result in any flooding concerns. And better news, considering if you didn't want these rain chances to stick around all evening long, we had to start things out with some scattered rain and storms. But right now, the radar is picking up absolutely nothing underneath partly cloudy to mostly clear skies. Good indication of how we'll stay for the rest of the night. Right now, though, at 9:12, we're still at 78. Feels like 80 with the dew point sitting in the upper 60s. Most of us are in the mid to upper 70s. You can see on the map, though, a few locations, especially in our western counties, trying to hold on to readings near 80 with a little bit of humidity. It might feel like the lower to middle 80s, but like Jordan said earlier, it felt really good to be out and about this evening. In fact, we'll drop back into the upper 60s to near 70 before we try to see a few more isolated storms emphasis on try, to head our way tomorrow. That's what's left of Ida. Barely a tropical depression, but still causing some flooding rainfall, maybe some isolated tornadoes or two right across parts of the deep south and the Tennessee Valley. As long as our stationary front's still parked in place, we'll see if that can spark a few storms tomorrow before we see signs of this upper ridge out to the southwest start to build back in and definitely keep the heat around, especially as we approach the holiday weekend. So the future tracks spot on here. We'll keep things pretty quiet for the rest of the night, partly cloudy to mostly clear. Lows dropping back to about 69 across most locations. Then I want to take your attention to the north late tomorrow morning into tomorrow afternoon. This complex of storms that we're expecting will stay in northern parts of Missouri, but if any outflow can come from the north and work south, that could try and spark an isolated storm. So I'm keeping just a slight chance for an afternoon storm in the forecast, but temperatures, I think everyone will pan out this way. 69 in the morning, 86 by noon, afternoon highs topping out around 91 degrees. Once we get into the rest of the 7-day forecast, though, that upper ridge starts to build back in, but not a lot of humidity packing a punch with it. But we got to up the thermostat a little bit. Let's go 91 tomorrow and Wednesday, 92 Thursday, maybe isolated rain chances during the morning hours for much of the Labor Day weekend, Jordan, but at least we'll take hot instead of hot and humid this weekend.
And you know what? It's still bad during the daytime, but as I was saying, at nighttime, at least it's not bad and humid and hot at nighttime.
I know, and with the humidity not really coming back in quite a hurry, as long as we can get to the lower 70s, that should give us some relief during the night.
Definitely. Nick Kelly, catching a little bit. Thank you so much. Coming up, the coronavirus surge showing no signs of slowing down.
Cases and hospitalizations are still increasing as the Delta variant spreads quickly across the country. I'm Brian Yennis. I've got the details coming up.
Tuesday morning, the latest.
Joplin Health Department is reporting 4 more COVID-19 related deaths, bringing the city's total to 164 deaths. The residents who passed away included a 57-year-old male and 3 females, ages 34, 61, and 63. Still no end in sight to this new COVID-19 surge, with the Delta variant fueling a big spike in cases and hospitalizations. Fox News correspondent Brian Yennis has more now from New York.
The new COVID surge is accelerating and the numbers are telling the story. The daily average, more than 156,000 cases in the U.S. as health officials scramble to contain the spread. New restrictions are now going into effect. Here in New York City, most outdoor festivals have been canceled or scaled back, including the West Indian Day Parade, which draws more than 3 million people to the city every year.
This is a decision these organizations made. I commend them for it, but they made the decision this was what was safe and healthy for their communities.
Hospitalizations are also increasing. The daily average now over 100,000 for the first time since January. Hospitals in many rural communities are now pleading for help, saying they've become overwhelmed with COVID patients. But on Monday, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell closed the door on more federal funding for healthcare providers.
We've been spending an enormous amount of money, including a $1.9 trillion so-called rescue package earlier this year. Money's not the problem.
And as more schools reopen, vaccination rates are ticking up among young people, with parents finding creative ways to get shots in arms, including holding so-called vax parties where groups of kids can roll up their sleeves together.
Actually, I told my daughter, you need to get the vaccination. I'm like, you're not going to be able to go anywhere or do anything unless you have a vaccination.
We're currently averaging about 890,000 vaccine shots per day in the U.S., down slightly from last week. In New York, Brian Yennis, Fox News.
Next, the FDA talking more about COVID vaccines for kids, including possible vaccine approval date. Food and Drug Administration has granted approval for the first stroke rehabilitation system. The VIVA system helps treat moderate to severe motor deficits in upper limbs from strokes by stimulating the vagus nerve. The system can help improve function in patients' arms, also their hands. To lower your risk of stroke and deadly heart disease, grab a cup of Joe, or 2, or 3. New research finds as many as 3 cups a day provide health benefits. The study followed more than 400,000 participants for more than 10 years. Masking and testing could help prevent coronavirus infections in at least half of susceptible K through 12 students. That's according to projections modeled by researchers from North Carolina State University. Universal mask use plus randomized testing could reduce the proportion of infected students to as low as 1/4. Same data showed that without any mitigation measures, between 75 and 90% of susceptible students may get infected in the first 3 months of school. Susceptible students are those who aren't vaccinated or don't have natural immunity. As the COVID-19 surge continues, many patients and parents are worried about sending their kids back to class. Fox's Sal Giangrasso has more on that and new details on just how soon a vaccine could be approved for children under 12 years old.
More and more children are preparing to head back to class across the country, but fears about the Delta virus spreading remain. Currently, children under 12 years old are not eligible to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. But health officials say there could be enough data by early October for the Food and Drug Administration to consider if the shots are safe for children in that age range. Approval of a vaccine could then follow.
So that'll put us on a time frame where the vaccine could be available at some point late fall, more likely early winter.
But will parents want their children to get the shots? Dr. Anthony Fauci says he believes the shots should be mandated.
This is not something new. We've done this for decades and decades, requiring polio, measles, mumps, rubella, hepatitis.
Meanwhile, the debate over masking children rages on. As the Delta variant continues to spread, the CDC says it still is calling for universal masking in schools.
Masks for all students, teachers, staff, and visitors, ventilation, cohorting, physical distancing, and screening testing work to prevent the spread of COVID in schools.
However, some parents say they're against mandates that all children wear masks.
I'm opposed for the younger children. I've experienced firsthand with my toddler. It was very difficult. There's, breathing issues.
So far, 72% of people over the age of 12 have received at least one dose of a coronavirus vaccine. Sal Giangrasso, Fox News.
All right, coming up, kind of reminds you of the story of Babe the Pig. Remember that movie and the book? I think it was even when you were a kid. Only this story tonight involves a firehouse. Going to learn more when we come back. Move over, Dalmatians. A little baby pig right there. Look at that. Taking over the spotlight at one firehouse in Brooklyn, New York. Penny the Fire Pig. It's 3 months old. Was adopted by firefighter Darren Harris. Penny spends much of her time hanging with firefighters at Engine 239 in Park Slope. She's become somewhat of a local celebrity. Many people stopping by to snap some pictures and to feed her snacks as well, like right there. Now with the new addition, by the way, the firefighters are no longer eating pork around the firehouse. I mean, how could you? How could you? But I must admit, man, I like pork chops, so that'd be hard for me. Just saying. 30 more minutes, news, weather, and sports coming your way.
Following an incident after a football game between Joplin and Webb City, a Webb City man is recovering from injuries. I'm Bronte Sorotsky with the details.
Also, a fast food favorite returns to Pittsburgh after being gone for 2 decades.
the Osho Memorial.
Friday night's football game between Webb City and Joplin High School had many in the community excited, but events after the game left one man injured. KUN's Bronte Sorotsky spoke with local police, both school districts, and the man injured. Bronte has the full story.
If you were on Facebook or Twitter this weekend, you've probably seen images and videos shared following a football game between Joplin and Webb City high schools. Many unconfirmed claims were shared around, so KUAM reached out to the schools along with police dispatched to the scene to see what really happened. In a joint statement from Webb City and Joplin Schools Administration, we were told that following an investigation, there was no evidence of damage of the turf or any vandalism in the restrooms. However, there was a sink broken prior to halftime in the ladies' restroom on the home side, but there is no evidence that it was some sort of vandalism. Following claims of fights that broke out, we were sent a statement on Saturday from the Webb City Police Department. They said they were dispatched to 3 skirmishes on the parking lot of the high school football stadium after the game. According to the Webb City Police Department, no arrests have been made following Friday night's incident, and the department is still investigating. The victim of that assault they are investigating is Dennis Grissom, a 69-year-old man who lives nearby the stadium.
The people came back from the game, and Dennis and the kids was sitting there. And Dennis approached the people to see who they were, and the guy put his chest up onto Dennis's chest, and the kids looked away for a moment. They looked back, and Dennis was on the ground, and Dennis was hugging the guy, trying to just stop him from hitting. The dad had him in a headlock.
Split my sternum, and
his face.
And I've got a concussion. I had lumps and bumps beat all over me.
No students were reported to be involved with the assault, and the ones identified in the fights taking place in the parking lot have been identified from each school district and subject to each school's disciplinary policy. In Webb City, Bronte Sorotsky, KUAM News.
The full joint statement from Joplin and Webb City's school districts are available on our website, KUAMNewsNow.com. Former Kansas Governor Jeff Collier is dropping out of the 2022 race for governor after being diagnosed with prostate cancer. Collier was governor for a little less than a year, elevated from lieutenant governor back in January of 2018 when GOP Governor Sam Brownback resigned to become U.S. ambassador at large for international religious freedom. Collier narrowly lost his primary bid to conservative Chris Kobach. Kobach then lost the general election to Governor Laura Kelly. In his announcement today, Collier says he's endorsing Attorney General Derek Schmidt. After 20 years, Dairy Queen has returned to Pittsburgh. The fast food chain was brought in by owner Raj Patel, who noticed the chain's departure from town left a blizzard-sized hole in the hearts of some residents. So he brought it back, and to a decent amount of fanfare from folks who were happy to have the fast food restaurant closer to home.
Family happy, and there is a Dairy Queen a little bit too much away from here, 40-50 miles. And people have to go all the way down there to get really great food and really sweet treats, the one they're missing here. So that was my first thinking to hey, let's get to the Dairy Queen.
The restaurant is a first of its kind, at least in Kansas. It's called Grill and Chill 3.0. Features a design not previously seen in the state. Dollar General is looking to expand its business by adding one major service, healthcare. The company announced plans to offer telemedicine as well as prescription services to its over 17,000 stores nationwide. The move is part of an effort to provide services to rural areas which may not normally be within a reasonable distance of healthcare. Dollar General's CEO said stores are providing medical and grocery services to places he calls food and healthcare deserts. The company's sales increased 16% in 2020, partially fueled by its fresh and frozen food options, as many folks in rural America use the chain as their main grocery store. Amazon is jumping on the buy now, pay later trend. The e-commerce giant has struck a deal with the financial company Affirm. Under the agreement, Amazon customers are going to be able to split the total cost of purchases that are $50 or more into monthly payments. The option doesn't involve credit cards. Experts say climate change is impacting the health of all Americans. So today, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services announced it's going to create an office focused on the health implications of heat waves, droughts, heavy rainfall, and stronger hurricanes. Skylar Henry reports.
Fire officials ordered more evacuations Monday around California's Lake Tahoe, the latest area of the West inundated by wildfire, and the smoke has spread far and wide.
I'm thinking of moving, actually, because you can't go outside all summer long. Can't let your dogs out, you can't let your kids play outside. It's just too much. And it's bad for people with asthma like me.
1, 2, 3, go. Let's go. In Louisiana, the opposite extreme. Many people became submerged in their cars while trying to escape Hurricane Ida.
Yeah, people out there just crying and people out there doing CPR. It was a chaotic scene.
Health risks associated with changing weather are increasing, according to climate specialist and CBS News meteorologist Jeff Baradelli.
The atmosphere is hotter. We have more energy in the system. The heat waves are worse.
Now, for the first time ever, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services is working to create an office that will focus on reducing illness and healthcare costs associated with changing weather.
The alarm bells are ringing, and we can't afford to ignore them any longer.
The office within the department is expected to be small and work in partnership with other federal agencies and President Biden's climate change task force. Right now, climate health risks disproportionately impact poor and minority communities, and the office says it'll work with its state offices to find solutions, and they want to push hospitals and healthcare facilities to reduce their carbon footprint, which account for between 8 to 10% of U.S. emissions.
Make no mistake, if we have authorities to move, we will do everything within our authority to make things happen.
That could mean new regulations for hospitals already stretched thin with the COVID-19 pandemic.
The American Hospital Association said in a statement another federal government agency is requiring hospitals to upgrade their air purification systems to guard against COVID-19, which increases a hospital's energy use. The group adds financial penalties will not address the root cause of climate change issues. A bit later, more evacuation orders in California.
More evacuation orders in California as the Caldor fire threatens Lake Tahoe. I'm William LaJeunesse. Details coming up.
Ted Simmons has always
this fall.
Before we could get any afternoon scattered rain and thunderstorms going, we had to see temperatures go from the lower 70s this morning back into the upper 80s and lower 90s for a good number of us. But even with the scattered rain and thunderstorms that we saw this afternoon, looks like this time around, Indigo Sky Casino and Resort outside of Seneca, Missouri, got off scot-free. Looks pretty dry from sunrise all the way to sunset not too long ago. Again, we started out quiet this morning, had partly to even mostly sunny skies at times. Then we saw the usual afternoon scattering of showers and thunderstorms. Didn't amount to much, at least in terms of the entire area. The average only gets us to about 1/10 of an inch. Still, some pockets where we were struggling to get a drop of rain to make it down to the ground, but others, you had some good downpours, especially outside of Chanute, Miami, Veneta, Grove, Lamar, Nevada, Stockton Lake, and around Monette and Purdy, where the heavier pockets of rain ranged anywhere from about 1/2 inch to almost 2 inches of rain. Thankfully not heavy enough to cause any flooding concerns. And even though we were tracking these showers and storms to start the evening out, I don't see a drop of rain anywhere on this current sweep of the radar network. So this is a good sign that we are going to stay dry for the rest of the night as skies stay partly cloudy to mostly clear, especially in Joplin, 78 degrees. An east breeze at 8, trying to keep the temperatures up there a little bit, and only a minor bump in the feels like temperatures near 80 because of the dew points in the upper 60s. Most of us are in the mid to upper 70s right now, but a little bump in the humidity again, trying to make it feel like the lower, maybe a few mid 80s in a few spots, but we'll all drop back into the upper 60s to near 70 as we keep an eye on this developing complex of storms that you see developing out of South Dakota. We'll see how that comes into play for tomorrow, but you can see off to the southeast, this is what's left of Ida, a tropical depression. We're much better off for it after it made landfall as a Category 4 hurricane around lunchtime Sunday. Our main focus, though, will continue to be the stalled out front just to the north to help bring those thunderstorms right along from the northwest. And eventually, though, we'll have to see that upper ridge out west start to build back in and definitely keep us hot for the rest of the week. So the overnight hours, I think the future track is spot on here. We'll keep quiet with overnight lows for most of us around 69, but you can see on the very top portion of the map, that complex of storms in South Dakota, it wants to graze the Kansas City area and mainly shoot toward Columbia, Missouri and mid-Missouri as we go into the afternoon tomorrow. But if any outflow can come out from these thunderstorms and pass on through, I would not be surprised if it had enough muster to fire off an isolated shower or storm or two. Despite that, we'll go to 69 in the morning, 86 by noon, afternoon highs around 91. And then the story for the rest of the week in general will be this upper ridge, eager to build back in. Fortunately, I don't see much in the way of humidity as that ridge builds back in, but we got to slowly bump the thermostat up with each passing day as a result. 91 for tomorrow, Wednesday, 92 Thursday, mainly around 93 to 94 for the holiday weekend, Jordan, with maybe slight rain chances, mainly Saturday and Sunday morning. Overall, though, I say any weekend plans, just go for it.
Good. That's good to hear. Nick Kelly, thank you. Coming up in sports, going to hear from Joplin's kicker Joe Ibsen on Friday night's game winner against Webb City. Also, the Webb City softball team getting a walk-off win to open up the season. Jacob Leonard joins us with that and more next.
Nominax. Well, today is the beginning of the softball season for the Webb City Cardinals. And Webb City, fresh off a runner-up finish at state last season, opens up their schedule today against Nevada. Now this one was a good one all the way through. Nevada already up one in the third. Kirsten Buck, 2 runners on, puts it up and out to left center. 3-run jack for Buck. Tigers take a 4-0 lead. Then the bats get going for Webb City. Peyton Hawkins, bottom of the third for the Cards, clears the fence in left for the solo home run. To the bottom of the 5th now, still 4-1 until Morgan Brannon drills it out to left center. Big swing for the senior. It's now 4-2. Another senior goes to work here in the 6th. Kaylin Gilbert with her team down just 1. Opposite field for the solo shot. This game tied at 4 going to the final inning. And in the bottom of the 7th, Emma Welch with a runner on. Welch squares up and finds the gap. Shelby Gardner scores from second. Walk-off double for Welch. Webb City takes their opener in exciting fashion over Nevada 5-4.
It was an inside pitch and it felt amazing because she's been pitching outside. She did amazing with the outside corner, and so I was expecting outside, and she came with that inside, and I took my opportunity. It was my time to step up, and I knew what I had to do, and I had full confidence in myself, and I knew my teammates had confidence in myself. I could hear them from the dugout loud, and I just went up there with confidence, and it worked out for me.
The St. Louis Cardinals open a series on the road against the Reds this evening. Paul Goldschmidt hammers a 2-run homer to right there. Cardinals grab the first 2 runs of the game. On to the second now. Cincy gets one back. Kyle Farmer, solo homer to left. Cuts the St. Louis lead in half. That's all they got. 6th inning here. Tyler O'Neill didn't hammer it. Good enough for the RBI single, though. Scores Dylan Carlson. Cardinals take the opener over the Reds tonight, 3-1. The Kansas City Chiefs have waived former NEO running back Darwin Thompson. The Chiefs picked Thompson in the 6th round of the NFL draft back in 2019. Now, the former Norseman appeared in 26 games for Kansas City, picking up 225 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground, while collecting 108 yards and 2 more scores receiving. The Joplin Eagles picked up a big win to open the season on Friday. The Eagles beat Webb City 41-40 for their 3rd straight win over the Cardinals. Now, it took them all 48 minutes, but a clutch kick from junior Joseph Ibsen finished the job. Ibsen connected from 42 yards as time expired to give the Eagles the 1-point win. We actually caught up with the junior today to talk about making the game winner.
As soon as it hit my foot, I could tell it. When you kick the football, it always makes a certain feeling and where it hits your foot, and you could tell by how when it left my foot that it was going through the uprights, and I looked up and it was through the uprights, and it was just a good feeling to know that me and the team had done it and beat Webb.
That was fun, obviously, for Joe. He's such a good kid, and kids that work hard like that, it's awesome to see things like that, you know, that to get that opportunity and to come through.
And that's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
More evacuation orders go into effect in California as the Collier fire nears a major restored town. Thousands of people have been asked to leave their homes since the flames erupted 2 weeks ago. Fox National News correspondent William LaJeunesse has more.
The Collier fire inches closer to mountain towns near Lake Tahoe, prompting evacuations.
Stay informed, have a plan, be prepared, and stay safe.
Fire managers say protecting the area remains their top priority, but not easy. Since breaking out about 2 weeks ago, the Collier fire burned more than 276 square miles and destroyed hundreds of structures. But it threatens at least 18,000 more as it closes in on the famous resort.
We all are just so tired, you know. We just want to be home, just like everyone else.
Firefighters face treacherous conditions as spot fires continue to breach containment lines. This week they'll face strong wind gusts and extreme heat. The weather prompting a red flag warning across the northern Sierras through Tuesday.
Coming into this red flag warning, it's definitely concerning for us. We have a lot of resources in place to mitigate the problem, but we're making sure everybody's safe right now. That's our focus.
Collier is one of a dozen large fires burning in California. More than 1.6 million acres have burned here this year alone, prompting fears of another record-breaking season.
Definitely the worst it's been. Every year there's usually a fire, but it's a real small one.
Right now, the Collier fire is spreading rapidly, and Cal Fire ordered 10 new communities Monday morning to evacuate, bringing to some 30,000 ordered to leave their homes. In Los Angeles, William LaJeunesse, Fox News.
Next, look at what's coming up this week on Fox TV Primetime. Guest judges, guest stars, and all new episodes. Here's a look at what's coming up on Fox TV this week with Fox's Ashley Dvorkin.
Many legends join MasterChef and new visitors head to Fantasy Island. Here's what's hot on Fox.
There's only 5 jackets.
First on Monday, the Hell's Kitchen Young Guns compete for the legendary Black Jacket.
Hey, buddy!
Housebroken features guest voices Nicole Byer and Ben Schwartz, when wild adventures for Honey and Chief lead the group to have to go out and save them.
You know, this is going to be an extra special Witch Day.
And the animated fun continues on Duncanville, where it's the annual Witch Day Festival.
In the biz, we call this a demo.
Tuesday on Lego Masters, the teams are tasked with home renovations on Lego neighborhoods, creating dream houses.
Why am I in 1967 Havana?
Then it's Fantasy Island, where a Cuban percussionist goes back in time with a wish of being accepted by her family who don't approve of her music career.
This is a very special restaurant takeover.
Wednesday, it's a Chef's Table Team Challenge on MasterChef Legends, with several legendary judges joining in as home cooks create 2-course meals, then have a mystery box challenge in hopes of making it to the semifinals.
It's about to go down.
Thursday, 2021 college football coverage kicks off with Ohio State versus Minnesota. WWE Friday Night SmackDown rounds out the week.
Here we go!
Fox Sports college football coverage continues Saturday, and check out some animation domination Sunday night. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
You don't have to watch the Ohio State game, just Michigan. That's our time for tonight. My wife is from Ann Arbor. Thanks for joining us. Gonna leave you with a drone light show in the sky of Athens, Greece. Be safe. Do this all again tomorrow. See you then.